Okay. Is my mic on? Cool. Okay. Yeah, so I'm Delaney. I have been a member of South Fork for my entire life. Didn't have a choice. I came when I was a baby, so this is where I stuck. And it worked out. Um, but yeah, so I moved to Columbia, Missouri, um, 5 years ago now, to attend Mizzou for college, and I graduated last May. And I've been working at the campus ministry that I attended as a student for the past year. So for those of you that were here last, I guess August, me and Nathan came to present about India, which was kind of the trip that kind of jump started everything that's happened in this last year. Yeah, so I will just be updating kind of what I do and how you guys can be a part of that. What is Salt Company? So Salt Company is we're part of the Salt Network, which is part of Southern Baptist and the North American Mission Board. It's a whole thing. It's huge. It's everywhere, but we plant churches in cities, major university centers to reach all the college students there. So at Mizzou, that's our main college and university that we reach, but there's also Columbia College, Stevens College, MACC, and then we also have students that drive like 30 minutes from William Woods University. So we have about 40 that come, or 4 that just in our area that come. But there's 30 established salt companies across the country, and then there's 12 that are upcoming in the next few years. So we have ones that are not announced yet that I know about because I'm on staff, which is super clutch. And then we have all the ones that are announced on the website that you can see. So yeah, so our vision is to see students on campus come to know, love, and obey Jesus at Mizzou and then the surrounding colleges that we serve. And so why college students? The main thing, obviously, is that there's a huge spiritual need in every generation. There's a huge spiritual need in every population of people. But for college students, only 2 in 10 Christians who step foot on a college campus leave still professing a faith in Jesus. And so we want to meet them where they're at, where they come in as freshmen and they're jazzed. They got off a youth trip or something that they did that summer. They were a counselor or something. And we meet them where they're at, and we are just excited to meet them and just get them involved in our ministry and show them what it means to actually faithfully walk with Jesus aside from a part of your family and just be like, okay, we go to church every Sunday. My parents drag me there. So I go, and I am so good at it. And it's a lot of the time students come in and they're like, yeah, I've been a Christian my whole life. And we're like, cool. Like, what does your personal intimacy with Jesus look like? And they're like, what do you mean by that? And so it's just mind-boggling to them that it's not a culture thing. It's a whole life thing. And so yeah, the spiritual need just is huge. And then we also reach international students, and so international students that come to Mizzou for 4 years or 2 years if they're in a grad program, or however long, we are able to reach them as well. And they might not have any access to the gospel from where they're from, so it's really sweet that we get to meet them. We just meet them, hang out, invite them into American homes, because it's like 85% of college students that are international students don't step in foot into a American home, and so kind of want to make that a lower percentage and welcome them in. And then vital time in life. So there's more opportunities than ever in college to like find who you are and like meet new people and all the things, especially coming from a small town, going to a city. I thought it was the biggest city on earth when I first got there. It's not that big. But I was able to meet I don't know how many people that I was like, wow, never knew that people grew up like that or didn't know about that at all as a cultural thing. And so students just get to pick and choose what they want, and then after 4 years they're out and they've taken what they want to put their identity in. And so life trajectory also of like you're choosing your career, you're choosing your lifestyle, you're choosing your friends, where you want to live, how you want to live your life, what you find for fun, all the hobbies. Like you are able to take those 4 years, establish your ideal life, and then after you graduate you're off and you're doing whatever you wanted to do. So we want to make sure that students are spending those 4 years learning who they are created for and what they're created for, which is life with Jesus. So, and then sending potential. So summers, school breaks, and various opportunities during the school year for students to just travel. I mean, I went on many trips when I was in college of, like, I went to Canada for spring break my senior year because I was like, why not? So you just kind of get to do whatever you want, and you're going to go to a bunch of different places, meet a bunch of different people. And so after college, after those 4 years, you're able to go wherever you want, but also within those 4 years, you're able to spend time going like on spring break trips, summer trips. Like I went to India, and I used that time for a summer trip to go share the gospel with people. And all in all, like, students haven't put roots down yet until you graduate. Most people don't want to stay in their college town until like that senior year, when you're like, oh, all my friends are staying because they got jobs here, I should stay too. And so the likelihood that we have students that stay in Columbia is pretty low. And so wherever they're sending to, we want to partner with them to send them well. And so the way that we reach students, specifically through Salt Company, we do Thursday night service. So like we have Anthem Church as our church, and then Salt Company is the ministry of Anthem Church for college students. And so we meet on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. And just pretty much have a church service. So it's just a weekly gathering for all of our students to worship, hear the gospel preached to them, and then also spend time in community and meet new students. And so we love doing that, and that is honestly the one thing that we would never stop doing if we had to change our ministry philosophy. And then we also do community groups, which is also the big rock that we do, which is just small groups like every week. And so I was a C group leader 1 year, but I was an attendee of the 2 years prior. And so I got to see like different leaders, how they led, how people kind of got brought into the groups, and just kind of learned how to reach out to a person and be like, hey, do you want to come to this? Even if I don't know if they're a believer or whatever, it's like, do you want to just come hang out? And then we have discussions, spiritual conversations, and it's like, it's in an enclosed environment. It's like an hour and a half. Like there's a time limit on it. Like you don't have to be scared. It's like, just come and hang out with us and see, like if anything pops up, or like the Spirit prompts you in any way. And so C groups are really where you like make your community and you get friends and you see how you're supposed to live a life with other believers really well. And then retreats and conferences. So I love retreats and conferences because I like to get out of the country and the state and all the things. And so we're going to the Ozarks this year for our fall retreat. And it's just an opportunity for the C groups, the community groups, to be like, hey, invite everyone in your community group, and you get to go just hang out for a weekend. And you don't have to do any schoolwork if you plan correctly. Shouldn't have to do any schoolwork. And then you also just get to hang out. You get your meals provided for you. You get housing. Like, it's just, you just get to hang out and have fun. And so we love doing that because we feel as if the community groups that start like in August, late August, by the time retreat comes around, which will be in October, early October this year, that is like the span of like, okay, we're getting comfortable with each other. And then once fall retreat hits, it's like, you're going to go deep real quick. We call it microwave discipleship, because it's just, you talk about a lot and you get really deep really quick. And then once you come back to Columbia, those like last 2 months before winter break are really sweet for students to like actually get really, really deep with each other regularly, instead of just that one time of like, oh, it's retreat. And then conferences. So we're part of the SALT network, meaning all of the churches across the country also have SALT companies. And so there's like 6,000 of us that come every year, and now it's in January. It used to be in February, but it's in January over winter break. We meet in Des Moines, Iowa. It's the greatest city on earth, they say. And we hang out in Hy-Vee Hall for the weekend, and we get to worship and hear great speakers from across the network. And then you also just get to see that SALT Company is not just in your city, but it's like everywhere, and there's crazy stories that are happening everywhere, and the Lord's working through all of these churches and students, so that's really cool. And we love doing that. And then we have an international/global ministry. So SALT International is essentially community groups, but they're called family groups, and they're for international students. And so that's when they would get invited into a home. They would share a meal, play a game, and then hear the gospel preached to them. And so we have a specific team of student leaders that are just SALT International. and that's what they get to do, and they love it. And then we also send global trips each summer, which is what I got to go on last year. And we had 2 teams go out this summer, which was really sweet, and they are back and safe. And then we also have, that's all we have. Yeah, for that. Okay. Okay, so how did I get here? So obviously, prior to college, South Fork is the main thing. And I was talking to my mom this morning, I guess, and I was thinking about how, as much as I had missionaries shoved in my face at South Fork, I was like, I have to do this. It was like, I think that was just something instinctively that I was like, yeah, this makes sense. Like the Flammers, the Collins, all the other people that like came and went. So I think that was just a natural response of like, yeah, this is normal. This is like what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to go on mission. And so I think that coming into college was like, oh, cool. Okay, so I can do it though. Like it's not like oh yeah, they're old, they have kids. And then that's when they get to do it. It's like you can do it now at any time. So, but specifically with college, so my sophomore year I joined Salt Company. I went to a different ministry my freshman year, and then COVID and everything. So joined Salt Company my sophomore year, and I started attending a community group, and that's kind of where I found that community of believers is like the unity of believers is really important. And so I was like, cool, I'm bought in, let's keep going. And then junior year, continued to attend a community group, and then I had a summer internship with Anthem Church, which is, I did like admin stuff, essentially what I'm doing now for my job. And then I went on a vision trip to Oregon. So they planted at University of Oregon this year. September is when they started. And so I was thinking about going on that and wanting to. Jobs didn't line up, so I was like, cool, closed door, got it. And then senior year, I joined student leadership. So I was leading a C group with a co-lead. And then I was preparing for my SALT Global trip. So all of those things happened, and it just got more intense as it went on. And so a little update of like this ministry year from August, kind of when I came to speak, until now. So kickoff, we had 406 students at kickoff, which I think was our highest number ever. So that was really fun to see and kind of be a part of the chaos, because it's like a whole day ordeal. And I had joined staff August 1st, so I was like, cool, throw me in, I got it. So I was just like, carrying stuff and doing what I do. So that was just, yeah, it was really cool to see that many students on campus. And then in September, we had fall retreat. We had 170 students, and then 8 committed their life to Christ at retreat. And it was like a different retreat because we were not actually retreating. We were in town because our entire staff team was new, minus one person. So it was just kind of like, we don't know what we're doing. We need to like stay close in case something goes wrong. And so that was a trying time for our team for sure. Just like the first big thing that we had to do together on our own. So it was good for our team though. And then fast forward to January, we had SALT conference, and over 200 students attended from our ministry, and then 6,000 something from all the other ministries together. And so that was really sweet to have that many students go, because I think it was also another top number, potentially. Numbers aren't everything, but they're exciting. And then February, we had global retreat, so I was able to kind of step in to help our international global staffer, Nate. I was able to be like the female that like went with him. And so I got to go to the SALT Global Retreat that I went last year to because I was a global student. And so it was really sweet to like kind of have the insight of like, I've been here with you guys, like both me and Nate have been on mission. But I went to India, and there was an India team, different city, but still an India team. And it was all girls, so like that was just really sweet to be able to like hang out with them and be like, I understand where you're coming from with like a lot of the religions that you're going to experience and just all of those things. And so got to go hang out with them, and the SALT network sent 295 global students to however many countries we went to this year. And then in March, we did something that we've never done before to try to see if it would be helpful to student leaders, but we did men's and women's retreats. And so like the men's staff members went on their retreat the same weekend that the women's staff members went on their retreat, and we took students with us. And it was interesting to like not have the people that usually speak in front of people speaking. Like it was like, now we have to preach, guys. Like not actually preach, but we have to do like equipping stuff. And I was like, I don't want to talk in front of anyone. Like this is not what I want to do right now. Even though there was like 30 people there. So we had like an equipping weekend with about 30 women. And I taught on spiritual gifts. I waited till the last day to do it when everyone was probably tired and like didn't really want to pay attention maybe, or they wouldn't like nitpick me. And so that was really fun. And we still have girls that like talk about, they're like, yeah, we talked about this at retreat and it was so good. And like, I still remember this specific word, like this specific sentence that you said, and it like really helped me, in this way. So that was really sweet. It was chaotic because we were half of a staff team, but it was really, really fun. And it kind of felt like a big slumber party. So that was fun. And then in April, we had leadership interviews, and we interviewed nearly 40 students. And so we have almost 60 leaders for this upcoming year. Or no, over 6. I don't know. That must be a typo. But anywhere from 60 to 70 leaders for this upcoming year. And so many of them are like, they were freshmen this year. And so we have a lot of new young leaders, which we're really excited about. Because we had a lot of leaders graduate in May. So it was like our entire international team essentially graduated. So we had to say goodbye to a lot of them. But it was good. We're excited for this upcoming year of leadership. And then, and then in May we had students graduate. And then said see you later to the global teams, which they're both back. They went to Ireland and India. So my role at Salt Company, so I am administration, discipleship, and like event coordination. So for administration, I'm doing like communication of emailing everyone, graphic design, hence this presentation. Networking, so like trying to, with students, if there's a new student, being like, hey, we have a student leader that's like also interested in what you're interested in. You should hang out with them. And then just whatever comes up, honestly. I kind of take whatever Zach needs me to do. He's our director, my boss. So, and then discipleship. So I lead a discipleship group, so all of our student leaders are a part of a discipleship group, which is essentially just a small group, but for leaders and like supporting them specifically where they're at. And so I had a group of 6 it kept growing, I guess. It was like we started with 4 and then we ended with 6. But that was really sweet. And I got really close with the girls that I was discipling one-on-one. And I'll get to continue to disciple them this year when they're on leadership again. So excited for that. And then meeting with new students. So I met with a bunch of freshmen last year, which was really fun because I love just being like, what was life like for you before college? And like, how are you handling it? Especially in the fall semester when they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's really fun to like be like, it's okay. Like, it'll be fine. Like, you'll figure it out. And then just like various shepherding opportunities. I feel like they mostly come up in interviews when students are talking about like what sin they're struggling with at the moment, or hard things that have happened to them in the past, and just like, anxieties that they have about potentially being a leader, just getting to breathe life into them and encourage them. And then event coordinator, I kind of handle logistics for like our retreats and stuff, so I'll communicate with the camps and send them money to make sure that we can go there. And then coordinating volunteers for like setup and tear down of events. And then also like for Thursday nights, we have our student leaders like greet and hang out to welcome people in. So kind of telling them who's doing it when. And then promotion of events. So trying to figure out how far out we need to promote, and then also make sure that people know what we're doing for the event, so that we have people at the events. And then event oversight, so just being the person of like, you do that and you do that at the event whenever we're setting up and all that. So, and just making sure nothing goes terribly wrong. And then so into this next year that I've like seen over the summer is like some changes to my role. I've been adding a little bit more of things to my role, taking some stuff out. My job description is not accurate ever because I just feel like it changes all the time. And so I've been doing a lot of social media stuff this summer. We had a leadership summit for the SALT network of like all the staff members from all the SALT companies came together, and there was a social media breakout, and they just got me all jazzed about it. So I was like, we have to do social media like a little bit better, and like utilize it a little bit better because students that are lonely are going to isolate, and when you isolate, what do you go to? Social media. And so you're going to be able to reach a lot more students that are isolated and need to hear the gospel so much if you are promoting things on social media and you're inviting them and you're DMing them and all of those things. And so I've been taking on more graphic design projects for like promo stuff and then managing social media interns and content that we put out. And so we have a little media team that I'll be kind of overseeing this upcoming year, which I'm excited about. And then global, as I talked about earlier, I got to spend a lot more time with the global students this year and kind of give them my teensy weensy bit of wisdom from my trip. And so I'm looking forward to doing more of that this year. And yeah, and then I don't know if it'll continue, but Nate is actually going to Knoxville after this year, so he's moving, and so that spot will be open on staff. So it's already been in talks that potentially I would step into that for the global students, but we're not for sure. And then teaching. So Gospel 101 is a course for our student leaders that they kind of take as like a prerequisite to being on student leadership. So it just teaches them of like, this is the gospel. If you didn't know it already, this is how you would share it with this type of person. This is how you kind of could go in this direction to share it with someone. And it's just a good equipping tool for them to feel more confident in sharing the gospel with people on campus. And so I will be teaching my own cohort this semester, which I am excited about. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see teaching. I've never taught before, so. But yeah, so that's my role. And then your potential role. So partnership opportunities. So I've split up kind of the 3 ways that I feel would be the best for partnerships. So prayer team, first and foremost, like this would just be a group of people committed to praying for Salt Company, for praying for students at Mizzou and in Columbia, and then just everyone in the city of Columbia. So prayer is that's the heartbeat of everything. Is we can't do anything. John 15:5, we can't do anything apart from God. So why do we act like we don't need prayer sometimes, and that we can just muscle through? And so prayer team would be top priority. And then financial team. So this would be like individuals, families, churches, or organizations that would give financially to me as a staff member, because I have to support raise half of my salary, and then our ministry as a whole, so that we can do all of the events throughout the year that we use to reach campus. And then support team would be people that have ministry experience. So I kind of like thought about, this was something I added recently, of like, it would be really helpful if I like had a group of contacts that I was like, if I need help with this, I know I can reach out to them. Because after doing ministry for a year and just being like, I'm just reaching out to my team, and that's like who I have to support me and like help me figure out what to do. I've realized it's not helpful to talk through problems with people that you're having problems with. So I think it would be a good team to have, of like, okay, you've gone through this, you've had conflict with someone that you're doing ministry with, or like so ways that I can reach out to people and just be like, this is really cool, but also like, this was a really hard part of it. Could I navigate that better in the future to avoid those problems and just hardships? So yeah, and then so my commitment to my team and just anyone that I talk to about the work that we're doing is to work diligently to reach the students. So I'm in the for a reason, and I want to steward it well, and for however long I'm in it, for the glory of God. I don't want to be doing it for just because it was the first job that I got offered when I got back, or it was the easiest thing to do, or um, it's fun. I don't know. Like, I want to be actually doing the work, and I want to commit to that. And I feel like I have, and I want to continue to do that. And then regular updates. I am notorious for horribly, horribly updating people that are partnering with me, but I'm committing now. So I've said it verbally. I put it in writing. So I'm gonna do it. So anyone that is a partner with me, I want to keep them in the loop regularly through like an email update, like once to twice a semester. So like we can communicate that way. Texting is also fun. But like my big updates would be an email. And so I want to do that more regularly so people aren't just like, cool, I'm just hanging out waiting for Delaney to tell me what's happening in a year, because I don't want to do that. So regular updates throughout the year. And then honesty in ministry and life. So ministry's hard, and I want to be leaning on the people that are raising their hand and saying, yeah, I want to support you in whatever way. And so I need to be honest with the needs of the ministry and also the needs of like, hey, I'm not doing so hot right now. Can you pray for this specifically in my life? And so I think that's just a big thing that I've realized over the past year that is really important for people that are working in vocational ministry. But also just, I mean, as the body of Christ, to be leaning on one another, even if it's not vocational ministry. We're all doing ministry in some way or another with how we live. So, yeah. So that is all I got for you. Thank you for listening. And if you're interested in any of the partnership opportunities that I talked about, I'd love to talk with you after service. I'll just be hanging out, probably where Barb is right now at the tall tables. And then if you want to learn more about the SALT network as a whole, Mizzou Salt Company or Anthem Church, there's the websites for that. They're pretty straightforward, but also if you want them in writing, I can write them down for you before you leave. But, so yeah, thanks for listening. That's all.